Welcome back, Spacers. We are the night prior to our smoke of Gopton's Chaosic region famous Gorsecca, Thatticus'S recipe. And what I have right now is I have our jus that we are making. As you can see, I have all our spices inside there. Once again, I toasted the spices, and you will be seeing those spices right here. Next, what I have done in our crock pot is I've added 2 boxes of beef broth, which is 64 ounces. Now, you can do 64 ounces, any beef broth that you prefer. We're going to be making it into ours with all of our seasoning. Next, what I'm going to be doing is prepping the onions. So I've got my sliced onions and 1 stick of butter. We're going to take this over to our cast iron skillet. Now, remember, I said we're not letting any of those toasted seasonings go to waste. This is the same cast iron that I toasted the seasonings in. And so we're going to put our butter in, and we're going to put in our onions. We're going to spread those around with our spatula here. And we're going to be getting these nice and caramelized. And after about 2.5 to 3 minutes, I'm going to be putting a couple of cloves of garlic in here. Now, I've also got about 2.5 ounces of bacon fat. We're just throwing that in there for some extra flavor. And like I said, we're going to let all of this caramelize, get real nice and just nice and fresh and refreshing with all those flavors from the bacon fat in there. And then we're going to be adding this to the jus. So I'll see you back here in a couple of minutes. All right, now we've added our garlic. The onions are caramelized, all that butter and our bacon fat is rendered down. Now we're going to be adding this directly to our au jus in the crock pot. We're going to get all of this in here, give it a good stir, and then what we're going to do is we are going to put this on low, and this is going to be cooking all night long, just getting all those flavors all cooked together. It hasn't been but a couple of minutes, and it already looks fantastic. So I am going to be sitting this right here on low, covering it, and we'll see you tomorrow with the smoke. Hey, Spacers, welcome back to my kitchen. It's been a long week and we are ready to smoke. We are actually almost 2 nights prior to our smoke for this one because we are going to the Chaosic region and we are going to be recreating one of our favorite people's prized dish. It's known throughout the Imperium and it has taken the Chaosic region by storm. It is Thatticus'S own Gorsecca sandwich. Now, here on Earth, this is likened to one of my favorites, and that's a Chicago Italian beef. So, what I've got right now is a 9.5 pound sirloin tip, and it looks amazing. What I've also done already is I have toasted all of our seasonings. Now, I've toasted these because it brings all the oils to the surface of the spices and it gives more of that aromatic punch. And if we're going to be cooking out of this verse food, it's got to be out of this verse. Now, there are over 12 spices that I have already mixed up and toasted right here. You're going to be seeing them in the screen right about now through the magic of editing. What I've also got here is about 2 teaspoons of horseradish mustard. And we're going to be putting a base coat on our sirloin tip. Now, I've had it out of the freezer for about an hour. And as you know, I like to get my seasonings onto the meat while it's defrosting. This way, as the meat opens up from defrosting, all the seasonings soak into the meat and you get that flavor deep down inside. So we're going to start by generously rubbing that horseradish mustard all over sirloin tip, and we're just giving it a nice little coat on there, and that is going to help all of our nice toasted seasonings to stick. Now, like I said, this is just a fast, quick, and easy thing to do. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to change the gloves and we're going to start getting into our seasoning. And we're just going to sprinkle this all over the top right here. And we're getting it all over it. Now, one thing to note, I toasted these in my cast iron, and we're going to be using that later on. Um, and that's going to be where we're putting our butter and onions that are going to be being made for the juice. So any of the seasonings that in it I wasn't able to get up here, those are still not going to be wasted. Those are going to be seen in the juice. Now that I've got that here, let me real quick, and I'm going to flip this over. Okay, so now I've got my gloves on so I can get the bottom half of this, and I'm going to sprinkle all our seasoning on here, get this coated in, and there we go. Like I said, we're going to make sure that we've got this generously coated with all our seasonings, and this is going to be going back into the freezer, or not into the freezer, but into the refrigerator to defrost. And this is going to be defrosting for, let's see, probably a little over 18 hours. And then we're going to be getting this prepped and going onto the smoker. So we will see you back here when we're ready to go onto the smoker. Hey Spacers, welcome back. It is smoking day, and you can tell by the smile on my face that I am ready for this one. We have the star of the show. This is Gobton's famous Gorsecca sandwich. Now, we are doing this. This is my riff on the Chicago roast beef sandwich. Now, we're going to talk about the Chicago Italian roast beef sandwich because Chicagoans take their food seriously. Okay, we've got pizza, we've got hot dogs, and we've got roast beef sandwiches. I have seen friendships end over where somebody likes their roast beef sandwich, whether it's Al's or Johnny's, but now we are doing ours, and this is going to be mine. Now, we've had this in the refrigerator for 36 hours, defrosting. We've had our seasonings, and as you can see, all those seasonings have gone into the meat as it has been defrosting. What I'm going to be adding now is I'm going to be adding some of Troy's AP. This is 2 ounces of pepper, 2 ounces of citrus garlic, 1 ounce of seasoned salt, and 1 ounce of sea salt. And we're going to sprinkle this over the top of it if I can get my jar open. And we're just adding a little bit more seasoning to this. Okay, next, we are going to be hitting it up with my favorite Kinder's Black Cherry Chipotle. We're going to put some of that on there. Now, I'm going to be taking this out to the smoker, putting it on at 200 degrees, and I'm going to let this smoke for about an hour and a half. Then we're going to be putting it back in the pan and adding some of that au jus that's been cooking overnight. So I will see you at the smoker. Hey, so we're at the smoker, and remember, this is not a French dip. This is not a Mississippi pot roast, and it for sure ain't a Philly cheesesteak. This is Gobton's own Gorsecca sandwich, and we're putting it on the smoker right now. The smoker is set at 200 degrees. It is going right in the center of the smoker, and we are going to let this sit for about 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. I'm going to be checking it before we put it back in the pan with some of our au jus. I'll see you back here then. Welcome back, Spacers. We've had our sirloin tip on the smoker now. It's actually been on for 3 hours. I have taken it off of the smoker, and we're putting it into the pan. And I've taken some of our au jus, filled it up about 3/4 of the way. We're going to be covering this in tin foil, and then I am going to be putting it back on the smoker and increasing the temperature to 250 degrees. So I'm going to get this wrapped up, put it back on the smoker, and we'll see you back here in a bit. Hey, Spacers, welcome back. We're here with Gobton's Gorsecca. Now, this is a longer cook, so make sure if you plan to do this recipe, you have plenty of time. We put our sirloin tip on the smoker. It was on there for 3 hours. I took it off of the smoker and I put in some of our au jus. I added another 32 ounces of beef broth to it, and this is where we're at now. It has been on the smoker a combined amount of 8 hours. All right. This thing is tender. It is at 195 degrees. I am going to be taking our sirloin tip out of the juice and I'm putting that on a rack by itself. This is going to go into the refrigerator until I get the temperature down to 40 degrees. This way it makes it easy for us to slice. I'm going to take our additional au jus and I'm going to put that back into our crock pot. And what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be putting it into a blender and blending everything up, putting it back into the crock pot. So when our meat is ready to be sliced, after we slice it, it goes back in to get warmed back up to temperature. This is a process, and it is a process of love. And this is what is going to make this meal out of this verse. So I'll see you back here in a little bit. Hey, Spacers, welcome back. And it is finally time to eat. It has been a long week preparing our food for this cook. And that is because this is a labor of love. You have to do a lot of things to get this dish right. We started off last week where Bridget was brining our vegetables for Lula's secret relish, and right now we have our jars of the relish that we have put away. When you are storing these, you want to make sure that you have enough of the liquid over top so that way it stores and it's going to stay good for a couple of weeks. Now, Bridget wanted me to let you all know that if you don't like the taste of vinegar, that you can use water. However, it is not going to store as long. Now, part of that process is that brining. Okay, that's going to keep those vegetables fresh and crisp, so that way you have that crunchy effect when you're biting into it. Next, we started up with Junior Slaw, and we've got that there. And right about the same time is where we started working on Thatticus'S jus, and this stuff is amazing on its own. You could eat a whole bunch of it with just bread. And then we had a total of an 8-hour smoke for Thatticus'S Gorsecca. This took a lot longer than we were expecting, but you need to make sure that it is done to the time and to the proper temperature, not just because you want to get it done. So what ended up happening is last night after we took it off the smoker, we put it in the refrigerator and it stayed in the refrigerator overnight to cool down to that temperature of 40 degrees. This way we could cut it and everything would still be firm enough and it wouldn't just shred apart because it was still warm. After we did the slicing, I put it into the crock pot with the au jus and we left that there for a few hours so that way it could just soak in all that good flavor of that au jus. And now we are here at the chopping board and it is time to eat. Now, as I said before, Chicago Italian roast beef. This is something that we take very seriously. There is a TV show called The Bear that has made it 3 seasons, and it's about roast beef sandwiches. So this is something serious. And over here in the Chaosic region and at Gobton's, We only smoke the good stuff. And now, without further ado, it's time to place some au jus. The proper placement for a Chicago roast beef sandwich. Number one, I've got French bread here, and I am going to take and smother this with the au jus first. Some of the meat got in there, but that's all right. Next, I'm going to take a generous portion of our meat. Look at this. It is sliced. Here's the thickness of that slice. It's thicker than that Arby's slice because Arby's roast beef, which isn't real roast beef, it's you can see through that stuff. It's like paper thin toilet paper. But this, look at that. This is absolutely fantastic. We're going to stack that on there. Next, we're going to come in with some of Lula's secret surprise relish. And we're going to put that on there. And now it is time to eat. I'm going to grab a quick little bite or sit here, dig into this. Look at that. You know it's done right if there's a mess on the plate. Mmm, mmm, mm-mm. That is the good stuff. I told you guys I was worried about this one because of the implications of how important it is to do a roast beef proper. And this is my riff on it by smoking it. You have all the flavor of that smoke. The seasoning is on point. That au jus, it's thick and savory. It doesn't just wash away. It's not like a watered down au jus. It actually sticks to the bread. The flavor profiles are coming through. It is nice. It's hot. It's got all that seasoning in there, and that taste just spreads through your mouth and it continues to grow as you eat and bite into it. Next, I'm going to dig into Junior Slaw right here. Okay. Mm. This combination really flows together. It is sweet, but it has that nice tang of that apple cider vinegar in there. The apples, everything flows. It's nice and crunchy. It's not overly watered down. You don't have an overabundance of that sauce in there. And this is really good. Together, these two rock it. Now, I can't wait to spend time at the table with you guys next. But there's a lot of people here that have been waiting a long time to eat this. And I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed presenting it for you. I'm so happy this one came out. This one's dear to my heart. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one.